G'day, it's Mike Callander here with you at School of Synthesis, and I'm going to show you some techniques for using drum rack to create a multi-layered instrument. So let's load one up onto our MIDI track 1, and inside that drum rack I'm going to drop another drum rack into one of the cells or pads, and then inside that we can take some samples from a folder that I created earlier in places. So I'll grab the 707 kick drum, and if I click on that pad, we can see that it's not actually triggering this kick drum sample. So I need to go into my in and out settings for that drum rack inside the drum rack, also known as a nested drum rack. And I need to change the receive value, which note am I listening to all notes. So if I click that now, we can hear our 707 kick drum. I can also throw various audio effects or any other devices I like onto this chain as well inside that drum rack, and we can see here I've added EQ8 there. Later on I'll want to sculpt each sound depending on my preferences using the EQ and maybe some other devices. But for now, once I've got the receive value set to all and the EQ there, what I can do is just simply duplicate that chain inside the drum rack a couple of times, and I can very easily replace the samples. So I can drop the 808 kick drum sound onto the second chain, and I can drop the 909 kick drum sound onto the third. So that means when I click the play button or the launch button on this pad, I'm hearing all three of those kick drums stacked on top of each other, controlled by one note. And up here, if I add that one note, we can hear that that's playing each of those three samples, and we can also see that we've got a little bit of distortion on our track there. So what we can do then is select all of those chains and hit Command G to group them into yet another drum rack. So we can see I've got a drum rack inside a drum rack inside a drum rack, and I can process that those three samples all at once. In this case I'll add a limiter, and we can see when I click on that, we've got no more distortion anymore on that channel. But if we have a look at the limiter, we would probably notice that we were triggering that pretty hard, and you'll see that the autoplay switch needs to be deactivated on my track there. If we go in here now, we can see there we're limiting quite hard. So what I can also do inside this nested drum rack is change the volumes for each separate instrument. If I say -6 for the 707, -12 for the 808, and -9 for the 909, I can choose whatever values I like. These are just arbitrary changes so that I can show you what's possible. But then if we trigger that, we can hear we've got a much more controlled sound, but it's something very powerful. So I can rename this drum rack chain and call it kicks, and if I wish I can use all of that work that I've done setting it up and simply duplicate that and rename the duplicate and call it snares and claps, and then I can methodically work my way through and just change the samples for each of these chains, and you can see I can do it quite quickly now that I've done all the hard work of setting everything else up. Now, of course, I haven't made any changes to the EQs on any of these chains, but you'll see that that's possible, and then you can do the work later when you're sitting in your own environment and listening to each sound. So now, if I click this cell or pad on the drum rack, I'm actually triggering not only the kicks but also the snares and claps. So I want to detach that or extract that chain and drop it onto a different pad, and you can see how easily that's done. I click on the first pad it shows me the kicks. I click on the second and it shows me the 3 chains there. These ones need to be grouped now, and then turn off this auto select switch, and if I change that to snares and claps, we can see here inside our MIDI clip I can control each of those sounds separately. So if I just move some things around, you can see it's very, very simple to create a multi-layered instrument that's super powerful and also super flexible. Once you get the hang of navigating your way around the pads and the chains and all the way down to the end, you'll see that it's a pretty incredible instrument inside Ableton Live. So I hope you have some fun with it.